Good day, STIers. We are the Group 10 from BSHM 703, and we are here to present our research entitled An Assessment of Culinary Enthusiasts Towards Standardization of Selected Filipino Dishes as proposed by the Department of Trade and Industry. I'm Patrick Guerrero.
I'm Marvin Esteban.
I'm Eliza Joy Santos.
And we are your presenter for this video. And let's proceed to our introduction. Each island has their own signature dish. Filipino dishes is labeled as unique, known as the original fusion by the rest of the world, and continues to baffle when it comes to taste and palate preference. Most of the Filipino dishes are full of colors that is usually combined with vegetables, tinned meats, and seafoods. And four of the famous Filipino dishes in the Philippines are adobo, sisig, sinigang, and lechon. Adobo is also known as the national dish of the Philippines. Sisig is the Filipino's favorite dish, fastened by its cultural heritage. Sinigang is the Filipino comfort food. And lastly, lechon is the popular dish in any occasion. And that's for our introduction. Let's proceed to our background of the study.
Background of the study. Last July 2021, the Department of Trade and Industry announced to the public that they have a new project. This project is about creating national standard for Filipino dish. The objective of this project is to promote a common ground among companies. The standard will define the common features characterizing the basic Filipino dishes. And last May 11, 2021, the Department of Trade and Industry started the project. And adobo is the first recipe in the project. And they will use Cookbook Culinaria, a guidebook to the Philippine cuisine, as their primary resource.
But then, after the Department of Trade and Industry announced their new project to the public, a lot of Filipino citizens criticized and gave their negative feedback towards to the project. And that's the reason why we conduct this study. We want to know the opinion and assessment of people who are more involved, knowledgeable enough, and have a deep understanding on the hospitality industry. And so, our study seeks to answer the following question. First, what are the demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, educational background, and classification of respondents? For research question number 2, what are the assessment of the culinary enthusiasts in standardization of Filipino dishes in terms of taste, flavor, aroma, texture, and ingredients? And for research question number 3, is there any significant difference on the overall assessment of the respondents on standardization of selected Filipino dishes as proposed by the Department of Trade and Industry in terms of the variables that I mentioned in research question number 2? And for the research question number 4, how the respondents assess the acceptability of standardization of Filipino dishes such as adobo, sisig, sinigang, and lechon. And lastly, based on the findings of the study, what recommendation to Department of Trade and Industry may be proposed in regards to standardization of Filipino dishes?
For significance of the study, our study were done to benefit the following people. First, to the Department of Trade and Industry. Our study will give them a significant and reliable information about their new project, and it will help them to come up to a necessary plan on what will they can do to expand their project. Second is to the food sector. Our study will give them significant information and new knowledge to the people in hospitality industry like chefs, restaurant owners, practitioners, culinary students, and instructors. Our study will inform them on what's new in hospitality industry and thus the new project of the Department of Trade and Industry. Lastly, to us researchers and future researchers, our study will signify as our fulfillment to provide and contribute information to our country. And lastly, to future researchers, our study will help the future researcher because they can use it as their source or reference with regards to the standardization of selected Filipino dishes as proposed by the DTI, and thus the significance of our study.
And for our scope and limitation, our study will only focus on 4 selected Filipino dishes such as adobo, sisig, sinigang, and lechon. The outcome of this research will be derived from 100 culinary enthusiasts in Metro Manila.
The next part is the research methodology.
For the research design, we use quantitative descriptive research method to provide specific and important objectives. It is the appropriate research design to describe the characteristic and/or behavior of a sample population.
And for the respondents, there was a total of 100 respondents and divided into two groups. The first 50 respondents are the culinary and hospitality management students, and the next 50 respondents are chef and culinary instructors around Metro Manila. We use purposive sampling technique. It is a non-probability sample that is selected based on the characteristics of population and the objective of the study.
For the research instrument, we use researcher-made questionnaire to gather data. The questionnaire is designed to gather valuable information about standardization of recipe in some Filipino dishes, as proposed by the Department of Trade and Industry. The researcher employed quantitative variable questionnaires, and the questionnaire distributed through Google Form.
For the data gathering procedure, we constructed the questionnaire after an in-depth study of problems and related literature and studies for the assessment and evaluation of culinary enthusiasts after the researcher drafted the survey questionnaire. The survey questionnaire was validated by the professionals before we sent it to the respondents by directly messaging them with the online survey form. After that, we tallied the scores and applied statistical instruments.
And speaking of statistical instrument, we use 5 statistical treatment of data to our study. First is the frequency and percent distribution, followed by weighted mean and ranking. And for the Likert scale, we use 2 different Likert scale, which the first one has a highest verbal interpretation of strongly agree, followed by agree, neutral, disagree, and the lowest is strongly disagree. And the other one has a highest verbal interpretation of acceptable, followed by slightly unacceptable, undecided, slightly unacceptable, and the lowest is unacceptable. And lastly, we use t-test. It is a statistical treatment that is used to compare the means of two groups. It is often used in hypothesis testing to determine whether a process or treatment actually has an effect on the population of interest or whether the two groups are different from one another. And that's for our research methodology. And now, let's proceed to the discussion and findings of our study. First is the demographic profile of the respondents, and the result of data revealed that the respondents are purposefully equally divided into two groups, and majority of the respondents are 21 to 30 years old and college graduate level. Next is the assessment of the respondents in standardization of Filipino dishes in terms of taste, flavor, aroma, texture, and ingredients. And the result of data revealed that majority of the respondents gave a favorable strongly agree to the variable taste and ingredients, while on the other hand, they also gave a favorable agree to the variable flavor, aroma, and texture. Next is the significant difference on the overall assessment of the respondents in terms of taste, flavor, aroma, texture, and ingredients. And the result of data revealed that there is a significant difference on the overall assessment of the respondents in terms of taste, flavor, aroma, texture, and ingredients. And lastly, the respondents assessed the acceptability of standardization of Filipino dishes such as adobo, sisig, sinigang, and lechon. And the result of data revealed that the culinary enthusiasts or the two groups of respondents are accepted or supported the project of Department of Trade and Industry. And that's for the discussion and findings of our study. Now, let's proceed to our conclusion. And the first is the conclusion for the variable taste. And the respondents gave a favorable strongly agree to this variable. It concludes that majority of the respondents want their adobo with a taste of herbs like laurel leaves, as well as a balanced taste of umami, tanginess, and saltiness. And for the sisig, they want a meaty taste from good pork and an average taste of saltiness. And for sinigang, they want a combination of sweet and strong sour taste, and for lechon, a smoky grilled meat together with a strong taste of herbs and spices. Next is the variable flavor, and the respondents gave a favorable agree to this variable. It concludes that majority of the respondents want their adobo with a combination of creamy, sweet, and umami flavor. And for the sisig, a combination of sweet and savory flavor. And for sinigang, a combination of sweet and sour flavor. And lastly, for lechon, a combination of sweet, salty, and an earthy blend flavor. The next one is the variable aroma, and the respondents gave a favorable agree to this variable. It concludes that majority of the respondents want their adobo with a garlic scent and the smell of marinade sauce. And for the sisig, they want a spicy fragrance, and for sinigang, a sharp sour scent and sometimes with a strong odor from guava. And lastly, for lechon, a spicy and smoky fragrance. And for the variable texture, the respondents gave a favorable agree to this variable. It concludes that majority of the respondents want their adobo with a juicy appearance and has a thick sauce. And for sisig, a pleasingly firm and oily appearance. And for sinigang, a thick sour-based sour consistency. And lastly, for lechon, an appetizing crispy skin and a tender meat texture. And for the variable ingredients, the respondents gave a strongly agree to this variable. It concludes that majority of the respondents want their adobo with some condiments, herbs and spices to enhance the taste and flavor of the dish. And for sisig, they want a pig parts, onion, green chili, salt, and pepper. And for the sinigang, they want a fruit that has a strong tangy taste like guava and tamarind. And lastly, for the lechon, they want a whole pig with some vegetable along with herbs and spices.
For the conclusion, the discussion and findings revealed that the two groups of respondents perceived the factors in standardization of recipe in a different level. It seems that the chef or culinary instructor assessed the variable based on their profession and experience in the industry, while on the other hand, the culinary and hospitality management student assessed the variable based on their knowledge and what they gained from their course. That support the decision to reject the null hypothesis.
Moreover, the two groups of respondents or the culinary enthusiasts accepted and supported the new project of Department of Trade and Industry, meaning to say they are in line and they acknowledge the concept of standardization of Filipino dishes as proposed by the Department of Trade and Industry. And that's all for the conclusion of our study. Now, let's proceed to our recommendation. First, we highly recommend to the practitioner that they should consider the proposed standard recipe made by the researchers. And of course, to make it reliable and prove that our recommendation is effectual, we cook it by ourselves and we perform it. And these are the output of proposed standard recipe made by the researchers. These are the recipe of adobo, sisig, sinigang, and lechon.
Additionally, they should also consult the professional and consider the stakeholder, such as chef, restaurant owner, the food and beverage sector, chef practitioner, managers, and food historian to gather more significant information that can contribute to the expansion of knowledge toward the standardization of recipe of Filipino dishes. Subsequently, the researcher recommend that they should expand their project to include more than 4 popular Filipino dishes to maximize the project into regional standardization.
Aside from expanding the project, the researcher recommend that they should create a cookbook that will serve as a guide for Filipinos about Philippine cuisine as well as to foreign individuals who are interested in Filipino dishes. It will be beneficial to have cookbook not only to provide recipes but also to assist in better comprehending cuisine and gaining a better understanding of culture, history, and origin of Filipino dishes.
And that's all for our presentation of our research entitled An Assessment of Culinary Enthusiasts Towards Standardization of Selected Filipino Dishes as proposed by the Department of Trade and Industry. Thank you for your listening.